Hello once again and welcome back. The students are still on their winter vacations, but I'm not. So this seemed like a good opportunity for me to make a new lesson, this time from my actual office. It's got all these books in the background and stuff, so it makes me look really smart. Anyway, in today's lesson, I thought I would share with you three English words that I have found very useful in everyday conversation. Now, these are some words that during my years of teaching, I've noticed that a lot of my students either don't know about or don't know how to use correctly. And so for this lesson, I thought we would go over these, and hopefully by the end of it, you will know some words that will make your everyday speech a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and start with our first word, which is stuff. Okay. Now, stuff, like most words in English, can have a lot of different meanings. But the one that we're talking about today is as an uncountable noun, which, if you don't remember from our previous lessons in Korean, an uncountable noun is going to be bulgasan myongsa. Okay, things like air, water, uh, etc. Right? Also, you should know that stuff is actually a slang term. Slang words are words that we commonly use in everyday speech, but usually with friends. Not sometimes with seniors, but it's not a word that you would really want to use in, for example, a professional paper. Okay. Um, in Korean, slang is um, uno. It took me a while to think of that one for a second. Um, anyway, but like most slang terms, it sounds very natural when you use it, and I like to use it a lot. So, what is stuff exactly? I believe in Korean, stuff is mulgun. All right. Now, this can be a word for just any amount of objects. Okay. For example, let's say you go on the bus and there's a person sitting on a seat and they have their shopping bags on the seat next to them. There's maybe some groceries, some food, maybe some new shoes they bought, and maybe their purse. Okay, you could say, "Excuse me, could you please move your stuff so I can sit there?" Right? You're talking about all of their things. Okay. Another example would, if you look on my desk here, I have a lot of stuff, right? I've got some cough drops. I've got some correction tape. I've got some computer accessories. Lots and lots of papers. I have a lot of stuff on my desk. Lots of stuff. Okay, so stuff, just a general word for a lot of things. But stuff can also be used for an unknown substance. Okay. For example, maybe you're talking with your friend, and your friend has, maybe maybe some food on their face or something. You don't know what it is. Is it food? Is it some kind of cosmetics? Who knows? So you can say to your friend, "Hey, you've got some stuff on your face right here." Okay. I feel like I have some stuff on my face. um, so that's one example. Or perhaps maybe you walk into the kitchen and there is some kind of liquid on the ground. You don't know what it is. It's not milk. It's not water. Maybe it's soap. You're not really sure. But you can say to your roommate, "Hey, what's this stuff on the ground?" Okay? So, stuff. It can mean a collection of things or an unknown substance. Okay? All right. Now, let's move on to word number two. And that word is good. Now, okay, you might say to yourself, wait a minute, I already know this word. It's one of the basic words that we learn in English, right? One of the first words that you learn. Why am I teaching this to you? Well, believe it or not, a lot of people don't understand how useful and applicable this word is. Now, unlike stuff, good, of course, is not slang. You can use this anytime. But let me give you an example of something my students might say. They might be eating some food and they can say, "Oh, this food is very delicious." Okay, well, we do use the word delicious, but not as often as people think. Usually in this instance, we would say good. This food is good. Um, Now, sometimes some teachers might tell you to try to avoid using simple words like good and try to use some words that are a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fancy. But honestly, I don't recommend that. I'm a big fan of keeping things simple when you can. And if you say, "Oh, this food is delicious," that sounds awkward. Good sounds better. It sounds more natural. Another example is when people ask me about my students, they'll say, "Are your students kind?" Well, kind in this case, not very suitable. I would say good. Are your students good? Yeah, my students are pretty good. Sometimes they fall asleep. Sometimes they talk a little bit too much, but generally my students are pretty good. Another example is when discussing a movie. A lot of times I will hear, some, Koreans say, "Oh, that movie was very fun." Well, actually, they'll say funny because they get fun and funny mixed up a lot. That's a lesson for another day. But they will say, "Yeah, that movie was very fun." Once again, we would say, in my country, we would say good. That movie was really good. It was really good. Okay? So, yeah, don't try to think too hard. Keep things nice and simple. Good. Very useful. And of course, the inverse of that, bad. You can use bad for a lot of things. My students are really bad. They never listen to me. That movie was really bad. There were too many plot holes. The acting was really wooden and awful. Or you can say, this food is bad. It's too high in cholesterol. It's cold and it tastes like dog poop. Okay? Same thing. All right, so let's move on to our third word. This one is kind of related to good, and this word is gross. All right, once again, gross can mean several different things. It can be a kind of number. It can describe sort of an overall collection of things. And then there is the slang term, which means kind of like disgusting, something that, offends your senses, okay? Now, the thing is, in Korean, as far as I understand, there's not really a good analog for this word. Um, Now, they have this word, 징그러워요, 징그럽다, I believe. And this kind of is sort of close. It means something that, gives you the creeps, like a bunch of bugs or blood or something like that. But gross in English means that, and it can also mean, for example, things that you find unappetizing or unappealing. Okay, let's look at some examples. So, for example, food can be gross. And, earlier I was just saying to, keep things simple, say it's good or bad, but gross also works in this instance. You could say, "Oh, the school cafeteria's food is really gross. I don't know what kind of meat it's made out of. It smells bad. It's gross." Uh, maybe you're eating lunch with your friend and he belches really loud. You can say, "Oh, man, that's gross." Say "excuse me" when you do that. Gross. Maybe you're watching a horror movie and, a guy gets his head chopped off and blood shooting everywhere, and you can say, "Oh, that's gross." Or maybe you see a spider in the house. You can say, "Oh, ugh, gross! Look at that spider." Don't kill the spider, by the way. They're useful. They kill other insects for us, right? Um, so that's what gross is. Anything that you find disgusting, okay? So there you go. 3 useful English words for you to use. Stuff, good, and gross. Now, take a few minutes at the end of this video. I'm going to put up some sample sentences for you to look at, so it can help give you, some more examples of how you would use these in sentences. All right, that's it for now, and as usual, thanks for watching. Oh, you're still here. Good. Actually, I was thinking about it, and before I leave you, there's something I wanted to talk about really quickly. In one of our previous lessons, we talked about pronunciation a little bit. Now, today we talked about using the word good, and good is a word where people mispronounce it a lot, at least in Korea. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, that's very good." Okay, they overpronounce the double O. If you listen to how I say it a little bit differently. I say good. It's not really an oo sound, it's more of an right? Kind of like you've been punched in the stomach and you go right? Good. So when you use this word and you practice it, think about how you pronounce it. Okay, we're done for real, and take care.